Hey everyone, it's Mark. This is my recap for Pokémon Journeys episode 102, Trial Mission, a freezing raid battle. This was the 1187th episode of the Pokemon anime, and a highly anticipated one at that. We had Gary and Horace returning, and a raid battle against Articuno. Let's just get straight into it, shall we? Oh, but actually, before I do, I was just going to mention this silly thing I did for my friends over on Discord. I recorded myself playing through Pokemon Red and beating the game in 1 hour using Greninja to win. It sounds stupid, but it was a fun video that I made exclusively for my Discord, so be sure to check the link in the description and join my server if you want to watch it. The episode opens with a little recap of Project Mew. Once again, we don't really need these, but I guess we're just going to always get them anytime Project Mew or the World Coronation series comes up. Cut to the Cerise lab where Ash is talking to Go about his next trial mission. Go is pretty down because it's a raid battle. Ash doesn't really understand, and he even brings up that Go has been in raid battles before, but Go just seems kind of out of it. All we get from the mission details is that he needs to have a raid battle against Articuno. That sounds pretty vague, but alright. Professor Cerise suggests that they head to the Seafoam Islands to look for Articuno, as there is a permafrost cave there that it could be living in. After one let's go and a boat ride later, the boys are instantly at the Seafoam Islands. They pretty quickly run into a Golbat, but after it annoys them for a little bit, Go just catches it. I was so surprised that the anime resisted the urge to go down the trope of having a sketchy looking bridge collapse as soon as the main characters try to cross it. I thought that was definitely going to happen here. After safely traversing that part of the islands, Ash and Go enter some kind of maze with no clear way to go. I feel like the Seafoam Islands are low-key one of the dungeons I remember the least of any dungeon in a main series Pokemon game. Like, I always get lost in here, so it does feel kind of like a maze to me. Anyways, Ash and Go get lost in the maze and run into a ton of Geodude, who they just run away from. At one of the dead ends, they find some random trainer with his Typhlosion, but they look pretty beat. This guy says he's a Project Mew challenger too, but on his way to looking for Articuno, he got lost and had to battle so many Geodude that he and his Pokemon can no longer continue. I thought the tone here was a little strange with this guy giving up, but this actually started a string of Ash and Go running into defeated trainers. I was wondering why Ash and Go didn't bother to battle the Geodude that they ran into, but it turns out a lot of Project Mew participants did just that, and now they have to give up on their mission. Deeper into this maze, they find this frozen stone thing that Grookey hits with its stick, and Go has his Inteleon use its fin membrane thing in order to sense which direction to go. I must have totally forgotten what part of Inteleon's Pokedex entry says that it can do something like this, but hey, it was cool to see Go's Inteleon in action here. They do eventually find the entrance to the cave they were looking for, but it's really cold, so Go recalls his Pokemon because Grookey is just a wuss, I guess. We didn't see Grookey again for the rest of the episode. That is the most Journeys thing ever, that immediately following an episode focused on Grookey, it gets no screen time. Incredible. Anyways, they run into a Graveler that's looking for a fight, but Go just catches it and they move on. They decide to climb down into a hole to go deeper into the cave, and this was honestly the funniest part of the episode for me because Go brings out his Caterpie. Seriously, Go came here to have a raid battle against Articuno and brought a Caterpie? They use Caterpie's String Shot to slide down to the next floor, but they run into a trainer having a battle. It turns out to be Horace, of all people, randomly showing up 70 episodes after their first appearance. Go is excited to see his old friend, so they start catching up, forgetting that Bayleaf is literally in the middle of a battle against that wild Cloyster. Go springs into action and has his Cinderace nail it with a Pyro Ball, and then Go catches it. We learn that Horace is a Project Mew challenger as well, and Ash introduces himself. He then asks the very logical question of why Horace is in Project Mew if his actual goal is Celebi. And Horace says that he wants to track down every Psychic-type Pokemon in the hopes that will lead him to Celebi. I mean, that sounds really misguided and pointless to me, but I guess it makes sense narratively, if only because it makes Horace sound very similar to Go. As they continue their search for Articuno, we get more of an insight into Horace's personality, and he is a really generous and selfless person that will actually play into this raid battle in a minute. They find this waterfall which is falling down somewhere they can't even see, so of course the logical next step is to take the leap of faith and go to the bottom part of this place. I guess going back to the in-game version of this dungeon, this does mirror how you have to navigate your way to Articuno's chamber. And luckily for them, in this instance, it looks like they have successfully reached the deepest part of the cave, somewhere that looks like it could be Articuno's resting place. Of course, that means now is as good of a time as any for Gary to show up, and since when was it Gary's trademark to make a dramatic entrance like this coming around from an object? Anyways, that's besides the point, as Go is already fuming, basically just at the sight of Gary. I would criticize Go for this behavior, but Ash did do this for nearly the first 200 episodes of the anime, so I can't blame Go too much. Horace introduces himself to Gary, and they all agree to work together, so I guess this will be the raid battle party to take on Articuno. Speaking of which, they head over to the iciest part of the cave, and who else but Articuno shows up. And then, almost as if it were a staged event, a drone comes in and starts explaining official Project Mew rules, with each trainer being allowed 3 Pokemon each for this raid battle. Well, that felt totally out of place. This drone comes in to almost officiate this raid battle, and there's not even an objective here, it just wants to observe the challengers battling Articuno. They send out their first round of Pokemon, with Ash choosing Sirfetch'd, Horace choosing an Indeedee, Gary debuting his own Tyranitar, and Go picking Darmanitan. Just as soon as they're out of their Pokeballs, Articuno nails them with a Blizzard, and all 4 of them are knocked out. Wait, what? No time to waste, they send out their next round of Pokemon. Lucario, Cinderace, and Umbreon are joined by Horace's Gardevoir, who I have to say was the MVP of this battle in my opinion. Gary has Umbreon use Confuse Ray, and Articuno responds by dropping it with a sheer cold. Ouch. Articuno is confused now though, allowing Ash and Go to drill it with an Aura Sphere and Pyro Ball combo. Horace didn't join in on the attack, opting to stay back and use Gardevoir for support, protecting them from Articuno's counterattack by using Reflect. Gary sends out Arcanine as his last Pokemon, while the other 3 combine forces in one of my favorite animation styles, reminiscent of episode 45, and Articuno takes the Pyro Ball, Aura Sphere, and Moonblast combo head on. Horace has Gardevoir ready to protect the team again, but Articuno uses Triple Axle of all moves. That's an Isle of Armor exclusive move, but it is enough to break through the Reflect and damage everyone. Gary starts commanding everyone's Pokemon, which Go does not appreciate, but Ash convinces him to just roll with it, so Cinderace gets on top of Articuno while Lucario tries and fails to reach it. Gary still manages to hit Articuno with Flamethrower, which Go follows up with a Blaze Kick, and Cinderace rejoins the group as Lucario blasts Articuno with a Steel Beam. Horace really did come prepared to play the healer role in this battle, as it has Gardevoir use Heal Pulse on Cinderace. Now, I feel like both Zapdos and Moltres were pretty much down for the count by this point in their raid battles earlier in Pokemon Journeys, but Articuno is still raring to go, sending attacks that Horace blocks with a Light Screen. Despite the Light Screen and Arcanine's Flamethrower, Articuno is able to send a powerful enough Blizzard that knocks everything out, except for Arcanine. The final 4 Pokemon are at the ready, not sure what Bailey, Pikachu, and Boldore are going to be able to contribute here, but let's see. Horace kind of scolds Go and asks him to work together as a team, since he had kind of been hesitant to accept Gary's attempt at leading the group. Gary adds onto this by making fun of Go for not realizing that he was trying to help everyone work together. Gary's next strategy is to have Bayleaf grab onto Articuno with Vine Whip, which allows Pikachu and Arcanine to land hits with Thunderbolt and Flamethrower, followed up by Boulder's Stone Edge. Go disregards Gary's next attempt to command the group, instead having everyone line up behind Boldore, which just gets everyone besides Bayleaf KO'd. Well done, Go. Bayleaf tries to fend for itself as the last Pokemon standing, but that goes about as well as you would expect. As if Articuno knew the rules of this Project Mew organized raid battle, it flies off the second that each trainer has had 3 Pokemon defeated. That drone from before flies in to confirm that the battle is over and that they will all be contacted shortly. Go acknowledges that he kinda sucked out there, and while Horace tries to reassure him, Gary just agrees that Go is the weak link. Everyone gets a call on their phones at the same time. It's Quillin reporting that the recording allowed them to collect data on Articuno, and that they each get 3 tokens for clearing the trial mission. Wait, okay, so they got demolished, but not only did they clear the mission, but they got 3 tokens each for this? Wild. In addition, Gary will receive an extra token for his leadership during the battle, and Horace will get an extra token as well for excelling in his role as support. Go butts in and asks a really stupid question about whether or not cooperation will be required to search for Mew, but thankfully Danica jumps into frame to mention that Quillin used to be really selfish and terrible in working in a group, yet he still managed to qualify as a chaser. The episode ends back in the mainland, where Go and Gary have a very tense conversation. For once, Gary isn't just trash-talking Go here, Gary actually is just giving him some hard truths about what it's going to take to reach Mew. And it looks like his messages have gotten through to Go, as the two seem to have a bit of a breakthrough. The group parts on amicable terms, didn't think that was going to happen, and the episode ends by the announcer somehow claiming that they passed the mission with flying colors. I don't know what raid battle they were watching, but that's definitely not how I would describe it. I'm giving this episode, actually, I think I'm going to save my rating for later. I don't know, I'm just going to try to switch things up here and see if it affects viewer retention at all. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. I'm glad we finally built in the concept of Project Mew outside of just Go and Gary completing random missions. We got to see that there are actually other challengers out there, and Go actually looks like one of the most promising ones. That's what I think my major takeaway from this episode was. It's finally established exactly where Go was in the overall scope of Project Mew. Okay, we don't actually know how many more missions there will be before the top 3 challengers get selected to be chasers, but we do know that there are many other challengers than just Go and Gary. But those two seem to be two of the best candidates so far. Go was able to make it to the raid battle, but he struggled with the whole cooperation thing. I thought it didn't really make a lot of sense at the beginning why Go would be disappointed about having to participate in a raid battle, but I guess Go really does still have issues working with others. Unless they have a really similar mindset to Go, like Ash. I guess this makes sense. It does take time to learn how to effectively work as a team with different kinds of people, so I can't blame Go for not fitting in perfectly. I obviously still think he will qualify as one of the final chasers for Project Mew, but we'll see if any other notable characters are revealed to be challengers, or if it will just be the predictable trio of Gary, Horace, and Go making the cut with Ash tagging along. So far, I sound like I only have positive things to say about this episode, but believe me, I have some bad things to point out. First of all, the organization and setup of this trial mission made no sense to me. The goal of having a raid battle with Articuno was so vague. Like, aren't there multiple Articuno in the anime? Yet, it seemed like everyone went to the Seafoam Islands. What if Ash had told Go to look for Articuno at the Snowtop Mountain, or maybe on Ice Island? Besides that, I did not like how the raid battle itself actually played out. And listen, I'm not angry about Articuno being really strong. I get the sense that some people are just angry that Articuno was able to defeat so many Pokemon. I would push back on that. It is a legendary Pokemon fighting on its home turf, but like I mentioned earlier, this Articuno was able to put up with way more than either Zapdos or Moltres were earlier in Pokemon Journeys. What actually irritated me about this was how contrived it all seemed. The Project Mew drone showing up right on time, the vague goal of just having to battle Articuno. It's not like they needed to collect anything from it, like when Gary got one of Moltres' feathers. Articuno seemingly knowing the rules of the battle and leaving as soon as everyone had 3 Pokemon defeated. I mean, Ash isn't even a Project Mew challenger. Why couldn't he at least have kept on battling or broken the rules, since it's not like he has to follow the rules since he's not in Project Mew? I know these are just minor details I'm griping at here, but still. The amount of tokens they got also seemed ludicrous to me. Again, Gary had to collect a feather from Moltres by himself, and that got him 1 token. This time, he just took part in a battle with some other people and got 3! I actually liked the awarding of the bonus 4th token to Gary and Horace, but still, I can't believe how many tokens they all got for just this mission. Really, all my complaints about this episode were pretty minor, but they did add up. Overall, I really liked this episode, but having so many strange and puzzling details did hinder it a little bit. And that's why I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10 rating. Moving on to the preview for next week, well, actually not next week, but in 2 weeks on April 1st, we're getting a 2-for-1 special. And no, not one of those silly episodes that most people dislike, but an actual 1-hour special featuring back-to-back episodes in the Kalos region. With Ash's next opponent in the Ultra class scheduled to be Drozna of the Kalos Elite 4, he's heading over there early to get some training in with Clement and Bonnie. I'm really excited to see their returns and then Ash's battle in the next 2 episodes. Overall, this looks like it will be a really exciting 1-hour special. I don't have too much to say about the battle other than that we don't have a lot to go off other than that Drozna likes to use dragon types and she is wearing a keystone on her bracelet. So we'll see what Ash counters with himself. As per usual, I'm hoping Ash loses, but I do think he will win this one yet again. Just to reiterate, next week, March 25th, there will be no new episode of Journeys. However, April 1st is going to be jam-packed with Pokemon anime content, with it being the 25-year anniversary of the anime first premiering in Japan. Get ready for a whole lot of content coming your way courtesy of myself and other content creators. I am really looking forward to it. In the meantime, be sure to like this video if you haven't already, click subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming videos, and thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.